Namaste. In this video, we will discuss in detail about Narad or RaajRishi or peacekeeper. Narad or RaajRishi are very important part of any monarchy. So you can see the Narad with a flag mark colored in blue background. Narad cannot be more than one on any side. Narad is ranked above general and generally moves one step. Narad on becoming RaajRishi can then move up to 4 steps. Narad is revered even by the enemy officials and is represented as Godman and Guru. Narad is composed of peacekeepers from both sides. Narad can use the strategies to stop or end the war, but not at the cost of adharma. So let's see the differences in Narad and RaajRishi. Narad represents the common people and are not part of army or monarchy. RaajRishi are elevated as powerful ambassadors and yet not part of army or monarchy. Narad are common civilian and cannot influence or help any officials and would not be impacted by them as well. RaajRishi has the main objective to influence the officials of any side because they are powerful ambassadors. Narad cannot get into any zone or cannot come out of any zone. RaajRishi are autonomous and hence they can easily get into any zone or come out of any zone without anyone's help. Narad are not autonomous, and when war is declared, then only they become autonomous and become RaajRishi. But RaajRishi are autonomous and can cross any obstacles like borders or walls. Narad is immortal and cannot strike anyone, cannot push anyone. RaajRishi is also immortal and cannot strike, but indirectly they can push the controlled officials. We will discuss in later. Remember, Narad or RaajRishi is ranked above Senapati but at par with Arthashastri. But Arthashastri is still slightly more powerful than Narad or RaajRishi. So, we now understood that Narad and RaajRishi have slight differences. So let's discuss how a Narad can become a RaajRishi. In the first example, you will see whenever a war border gets broken, it means that both states have lost their sanctity and have suffered a violent loss. In this situation, Narad become autonomous and powerful as RaajRishi, just to initiate the peace process. In this example, in the last image, you can see that Senapati is breaking the war border and has penetrated into the opponent's war area, and the war border has been broken, and now Narad becomes a RaajRishi. Let's see the second example. When any actor or any element gets captured, then also it is termed as violence and is considered to trigger the war between two sides. In this situation, Narad becomes autonomous and powerful as RaajRishi to initiate the peace process. So this second example, you will see that spy had entered into the opponent's war zone and army general or Senapati is striking the spy. So in this case, Narad becomes RaajRishi because there had been a violence. Let's understand how a RaajRishi or peacekeeper moves. In the first example, you will see Narad on becoming RaajRishi can move inside or outside of zone, any zone or palace, etc. RaajRishi does not require any assistance, and RaajRishi, when crossing the border or wall, can then step out or step in only one step. You can see the second example as well, wherein Raj-Rishi is able to even cross the opponent's castle wall, or can even get into peace zone, the truth zone, or even can cross the war border. Remember, Narad or Raj-Rishi are not enemies. Let's see the example, third example. You can see that Raj-Rishi can move up to 4 steps. Herein, Raj-Rishi can move like 1, 2, 3, 4 and can even get into the other zone. Similarly, Raj-Rishi can move diagonally 1, 2, 3, 4 and can get into the castle zone. This is the most important part wherein Raj-Rishi or peacekeeper can control the army for peace. So we will discuss in detail and we will see some examples as well. Raj-Rishi can control and influence the army officials and can even promote them. Raj-Rishi can also send these controlled army officials to other zone. Raj-Rishi can move up to 4 steps but cannot jump over anyone. Raj-Rishi when gets in touch with Arthashastri, minister, or Raja or Guptchar, then becomes a neutral Narad. These neutralizers can neutralize Raj-Rishi of any side. Raj-Rishi gets controlling and protection power only when war starts. Raj-Rishi on controlling the army officials become non-striker for some time. And also, these controlled army officials cannot be captured. Raj-Rishi as refugee general makes the entire army to not to strike, and similarly, the opposite side cannot strike anyone on board. This is like escalation of issues. So let's see the generic example 1. Raj-Rishi when in touch with army, then army becomes peaceful and cannot strike. In this scenario, refugee army is getting security and also cannot strike opponents. So you will see Raj-Rishi has 8 squares which are protected. Let's extend example 1 to further example 1.1 to understand. Raj-Rishi is controlling his own army general, and hence the controlled army general cannot strike the controlled Gajarohi or free pawn. Similarly, Gajarohi cannot also strike the army general because army general is under protection. Let's see the second example. No one can strike the refused army or army officials. The refugee army can be of friend or opponent side because Raj-Rishi never differentiates between any army. Like you will see that Raj-Rishi is protecting the opponent Gajarohi. The army general or Senapati who is free and independent cannot strike the protected opponent's Gajarohi. Remember, Raj-Rishi gets the power to provide refuge and to control army only and only when war starts. Let's discuss how Raj-Rishi or peacekeeper moves the controlled opponents. We will see some examples as well. Raj-Rishi as refused opponent can be pushed as per their full capacity to be placed outside the control of Raj-Rishi. After moving the opponent, Raj-Rishi can move themselves. Raj-Rishi as refused opponent can be pushed as per their full capacity and yet can place within control of Raj-Rishi. After moving the opponent, Raj-Rishi can move themselves. Raj-Rishi has got refused own army, can be pushed as per their full capacity and yet can place within the control of Raj-Rishi. After moving their refused own army, Raj-Rishi cannot move themselves. Raj-Rishi has refused own army and can be pushed as per their full capacity to be placed outside the control of Raj-Rishi. After moving the refused own army, Raj-Rishi cannot move themselves. This is sounding like difficult one. So let's see some examples and understand. The first example, Raj-Rishi has refused opponent which can be placed as per their full capacity to be placed outside the control of Raj-Rishi. After moving the opponent, Raj-Rishi can move themselves. So let's see, Raj-Rishi, white Raj-Rishi is encircled in green. It is controlling the pink circled Maharathi or Rook of opponent. So Raj-Rishi is moving the opponent Maharathi and pushing its own pawn. In the second step, now Raj-Rishi is moving its own step. Let's see the second example. Raj-Rishi has refused opponent can be pushed as per their full capacity and yet can place within the control of Raj-Rishi. And after moving the opponent, Raj-Rishi can move themselves. So you will see Raj-Rishi marked in 1 is controlling the opponent Maharathi or Rook. So Raj-Rishi is pushing the opponent Maharathi or Rook, and then Raj-Rishi is playing its own move and controlling the opponent Rook again. Let's see the third example. Raj-Rishi has refused own army and can be pushed as per their full capacity and yet can place within control of Raj-Rishi. After moving the refused own army, Raj-Rishi cannot move themselves. So we'll see Raj-Rishi is controlling own army general and Raj-Rishi has moved army general like knight, and still army general is controlled under Raj-Rishi. Since Raj-Rishi has moved own army general, hence Raj-Rishi will not get another chance to move themselves. In the fourth example, Raj-Rishi has refused own army and can be pushed as per their full capacity to be placed outside the control of Raj-Rishi this time. After moving the refused own army, Raj-Rishi cannot move themselves. In this example, you see Raj-Rishi is marked in green circle. So Raj-Rishi is pushing the controlled Senapati of his own side outside the controlled area of Raj-Rishi. Hence, this time Senapati is not only pushing the opponent Maharathi or Rook, but has gone out of the controlled area of Raj-Rishi. And Raj-Rishi will no longer be able to move their own step because Senapati was from Raj-Rishi's own side. In some special cases, Raj-Rishi can also promote the controlled actors and even denote these controlled actors. So we will understand Raj-Rishi can control and promote the army officials and even can promote the controlled opponent officials. Raj-Rishi, on promoting the controlled opponent officials, then can move their own step. Raj-Rishi can push the army or army officials of any side beyond the walls, but cannot push anyone beyond the war border. War border must be broken by any striker to cross. Strikers have to break the war border. Raj-Rishi, on pushing the army or army officials of any side beyond the walls, then can move their own step. Let's see how Raj-Rishi or PC keepers promote the control actors. Raj-Rishi cannot promote spy of any side because spies are secret and royal officers. Raj-Rishi cannot promote pawn to next rank as Guptchar or spy because spy are secret and royal officers and possess more power than Raj-Rishi. And lastly, Raj-Rishi cannot promote Senapati to next rank as Arthashastri or minister because again minister possess more power than Raj-Rishi. Let's see Raj-Rishi, a peacekeeper, demoting the controlled actors now. Raj-Rishi cannot demote spy of any size, of any side, as spies are secret and royal officers and possess more power than Raj-Rishi. Similarly, Raj-Rishi cannot demote Gajarohi, which in modern chess we call as bishop, because Gajarohi becomes spy on demotion. Spies are secret and royal officers. In earlier part of this video, we already know that Naarad gets permanently promoted as Raj-Rishi whenever the war gets started, violence erupts. But in some circumstances, this Raj-Rishi can temporarily become Naarad again. So let's discuss these scenarios with some examples. In the first example, you will see if there are no harms or violence to any side, then Raj-Rishi will remain as Naarad only, and then no need for peace process is required. This is the very basic thing. Here, Naarad was never promoted as Raj-Rishi because no harm happened. In the second example, you will see that Raj-Rishi is surrounded by more powerful actors like king or minister or spy of any side. So these powerful factors will neutralize Raj-Rishi as Naarad. And remember, Naarad cannot contribute in peace process. In the third example, you will see that the war borders have been broken, and in this circumstance, White Raj-Rishi is surrounded by army general of opponent as well as his own. But army general possesses lesser power as compared to king or minister or spy. Hence, Raj-Rishi will not be neutralized as Naarad. So this is the exception condition. Naarad. Moreover, if Raj-Rishi is inside the royal zone where king or Arthashastri both are present, that zone is called royal zone, then also Raj-Rishi becomes Naarad for the time being. Raj-Rishi or peacekeeper can be bypassed as well by the opponents or the own army officials. Let's see who can bypass Raj-Rishi. Since Naarad or Raj-Rishi are not enemies of anyone, hence all the actors having the flexibility to jump like knight can always bypass Naarad or Raj-Rishi. These actors are Guptchar or spies. Secondly, Shurveer or knight. Thirdly, Senapati or general. And lastly, Raja or king. The Raj-Rishi or Naarad cannot be promoted. Similarly, Raj-Rishi can never become inactive in palace. Even Naarad cannot become inactive in palace because they are very experts and siddhs. So we will explore how Raj-Rishi cannot be made inactive with some examples. Remember, Raj-Rishi when inside the palace can still control army of any side, including opponents. Why? Because Raj-Rishi never gets inactive in palace. So that is why they are able to control army of any side. If Raj-Rishi gets neutralized, then they cannot control any army. As we already know that king and Arthashastri are in same zone, then it becomes the royal zone. And if Raj-Rishi is also in that zone, then that zone becomes royal zone and Raj-Rishi gets neutralized as Naarad. Let's see the first example. The first example, Raj-Rishi is inside the palace and has been neutralized by the king who is outside the palace but surrounding the Raj-Rishi. So king has neutralized the Raj-Rishi, but still the neutralized Raj-Rishi or Narad, which we can say, can come out of palace on their own. The second example, you will see Raj-Rishi is inside the palace and can control army of any side. For example, in this image, Raj-Rishi inside the palace is controlling the external knight of own army. Hence, the controlled knight cannot strike the opponent pawn, which is next to knight. A similar example, after extending the example to that 2.1, we can see that Raj-Rishi is surrounded by the king, but the king is inactive. So inactive king cannot control Raj-Rishi. Hence Raj-Rishi can control the external knight. So we are extending example 2.2 again. You will see Raj-Rishi is controlling the knight, and knight can easily push the opponent. Similarly, you will see in example 2.3, Raj-Rishi is controlling the army general of his own, and the controlled army general hence cannot strike the opponent pawn. Remember, the entire army gets controlled, hence anyone who belongs to the same side cannot strike the opponent. This is the special scenario, the third example, wherein king is inside the palace and is inactive, and Raj-Rishi is also inside the palace but is active. So the inactive king was activated by the external army general. So king became active, and the active king then neutralized the Raj-Rishi. Hence Raj-Rishi cannot control the external knight, and this uncontrolled external knight can easily strike the opponent pawn. Let's extend the special example third to 3.1. King is outside the palace and king has neutralized the Raj-Rishi who is inside the palace. So neutralized Raj-Rishi became Naarad, and hence Naarad cannot control the surrounding army general, and in this case army general can easily strike the opponent pawn. Further extending third example to 3.2, you will see king is inactive inside the palace and Raj-Rishi is outside the palace. So inactive king ideally cannot utilize Raj-Rishi, but inactive king was activated by the external army general, and hence king sitting at position 2 in palace became activated. The activated king is neutralizing the Raj-Rishi, external Raj-Rishi, and making as Naarad sitting at position 4. So this Naarad cannot control knight sitting at third position. This is the fourth example. Now you will see king and Arthashastri both are in same war zone. The war zone has become Apat zone or royal zone, and in royal zone Raj-Rishi becomes Naarad. Raj-Rishi has become as Naarad, and hence Raj-Rishi cannot control the neighboring opponent army general. Further extending the example 4th to 4.1, you will see the war zone has become Apat zone or royal zone because the opponent's king and minister are in the same zone. So this Apat zone or royal zone is for black king only, black side only. Royal zone neutralizes the opponent's Raj-Rishi. Black royal zone is neutralizing the white Raj-Rishi, and Raj-Rishi has become Naarad, and Naarad cannot control the neighboring army general. Let's see the example 5 now. Minister and king, when both of them are in same zone but not in palaces, and Raj-Rishi also in the same zone, then Raj-Rishi gets neutralized due to the royal zone. Further extending the fifth example to 5.1, you will see this time opponent king and minister are outside the palaces but in the war zone itself, and see the war zone has become royal zone. War zone has become royal zone and Raj-Rishi is also in the war zone. So Raj-Rishi is not able to control opponents as well as their own army general. We already know that when king and minister, both of them are in same zone, then this zone becomes royal zone, which we call as Apat zone or crusade zone. We will now discuss how a Raj-Rishi or peacekeeper is offering temporary ceasefire. Raj-Rishi, when offering the ceasefire through controlled army general, then it means that army cannot strike in any direction. Remember, king offers the permanent ceasefire to stop the war. Raj-Rishi, minister or army general can offer temporary ceasefire. King offering the ceasefire to stop the war is discussed in another video. Let's see the first example. Raj-Rishi, when offering the ceasefire through control army general, then it means that army cannot strike in any direction. Here you can see that Raj-Rishi is controlling its own army general. Hence, even including the opponent's king cannot strike the controlled army general. An army general also cannot strike the opponent's pieces. The second example, Raj-Rishi, when offering the ceasefire, means that uncontrolled strikers cannot strike any opponent, even if this striker is king. In the third example, you will see Raj-Rishi, when offering a ceasefire, means that Raj-Rishi is offering the protection to both friend and opponents. Raja neutralizes the Raj-Rishi. Minister or Mantri and king and spies, any one of them can neutralize the Raj-Rishi. We end the detailed description of Naarad or Raj-Rishi. Dhanyavad. Namaste.